Follow your passion is not advice. It is a bedtime story told by those who have already won to those who have not yet learned how power actually works. In every era, the ruling class rewrites its own ascent into a moral fable. Once a man has climbed the wall, he convinces those below that the wall never mattered. He speaks of destiny, love for the craft, divine alignment. He does not speak of leverage, timing, or endurance. Not because he is evil, but because memory becomes sentimental when survival is no longer at stake. The world does not reward passion. It rewards usefulness. Passion is internal, value is external, and the market, like politics, only responds to what exists outside your feelings. It does not care what excites you. It cares what solves problems, creates advantage, or removes pain for others. Those who advise you to follow your passion are committing a quiet deception. They are reversing cause and effect. They are passionate now because they are competent, because they are respected, because they are paid. Remove those things and watch how quickly passion evaporates. A man is not devoted to his throne because he loved ruling as a child. He loves ruling because the throne gives him control. The love comes after the power, never before it. This is the first brutal truth most people never hear. Passion is a luxury emotion. It appears only after survival is secured. Before that point, passion is unreliable, unstable, and often destructive. It pulls you toward comfort rather than advantage, expression rather than results. The weak begin their lives asking, what do I enjoy? The strategic begin asking, what gives me leverage? This difference decides everything. The obsession with passion is especially dangerous because it feels virtuous. It flatters the ego. It suggests that the universe owes you a living simply because you care deeply about something. History shows no evidence for this belief. The universe owes nothing. Markets owe nothing. Power is not sentimental. And yet people repeat this advice endlessly because it is pleasant to hear and costly to question. To reject it means accepting responsibility. It means admitting that no hidden calling will save you, that you must build value deliberately, patiently, and often without enthusiasm. Passion promises meaning without discipline. Reality demands discipline before meaning. This is why Follow Your Passion is so effective at keeping people exactly where they are. It encourages endless searching instead of decisive movement. It tells you to wait for clarity rather than manufacture it, to feel ready rather than become dangerous. In war, generals do not ask soldiers what they feel drawn to. They ask where the terrain offers advantage. In politics, power does not go to the most expressive, but to the most prepared. Life follows the same law. The men and women who rise do not romanticize the beginning. They accept that the beginning is ugly, mechanical, and often dull. They move anyway. And only later, after skill hardens into competence, and competence hardens into results, does passion quietly arrive, pretending it was there all along. That lie is comforting, but comfort has never been the path to power. The fatal error is reversing cause and effect. The most dangerous lies are not the loud ones. They are the logical ones that feel intuitive. Follow Your Passion survives because it sounds reasonable. It flatters the modern belief that feeling should lead action, that clarity must precede commitment, that meaning must come before effort. This belief is false, and it is fatal to anyone who has not yet accumulated power. In reality, passion does not initiate movement. Movement creates passion. Competence comes first. Confidence follows. Passion appears last, wearing the disguise of destiny. Observe any individual whose work seems infused with purpose. Strip away the narrative, and you will find thousands of repetitions hidden beneath the surface. Long hours when no one watched, decisions made without certainty, progress achieved before pleasure. Passion was not the fuel, it was the exhaust. When people reverse this order, they paralyze themselves. They wait for an emotional signal that never arrives. They believe that if something were meant for them, it would feel obvious, energizing, almost effortless. This expectation alone disqualifies them from serious achievement. Power is never effortless, it is acquired. Those who speak passionately about their calling often forget to mention the years when they felt nothing at all. Or worse, they genuinely no longer remember. Success edits memory. Struggle fades. What remains is a coherent story, clean and inspirational, suitable for repetition. But the process was never clean. No ruler loved the burden of rule before understanding its benefits. No strategist felt inspired before learning the mechanics of control. The satisfaction came after mastery, not before it. This inversion of cause and effect explains why passion is such a poor guide for beginners. Beginners have no reference point. They lack feedback. Their taste exceeds their skill. What they feel drawn to is often what they admire, not what they are capable of executing. And admiration is not aptitude. The harsh truth is that most people become passionate about things only once they experience success within them. Praise creates attachment. Progress generates identity. Reward solidifies desire. Without these, passion withers. This is not cynicism, it is human psychology. A child who draws and receives encouragement develops attachment to art. A novice who performs poorly and receives silence moves on. Chance exposure, early feedback, and reinforcement shape passion far more than inner calling ever does. Which means waiting for passion is not noble, it is naive. Those who understand causality do not wait to feel inspired. They choose a direction based on advantage and test it through action. They allow reality, not emotion, to respond. Feedback replaces fantasy. Progress replaces preference. And as skill accumulates, something strange happens. The work becomes lighter. Friction decreases. Identity forms. What once felt mechanical now feels personal. Passion appears not as a guide but as a consequence. Those who refuse to accept this law spend their lives circling the same question. What am I meant to do? They never realize that meaning is not discovered. It is manufactured through competence. The world does not reveal your path. You carve it. And only after the path exists do you begin to love walking it. Passion is vague, skill is precise. Passion is an unreliable compass because it points nowhere specific. Ask 10 people what they are passionate about and you will hear abstractions. Creativity, freedom, helping others, expression. None of these tell you what to do on Monday morning. None of them translate into action. None of them create leverage. Skill, by contrast, is brutally specific. You can measure it, test it, compare it, improve it. Skill answers questions that passion cannot. It tells you where you are strong, where you are weak, and where progress is realistic. Passion asks how you feel. Skill reveals what you can actually do. This distinction matters because decision-making requires clarity. And clarity does not come from emotion. It comes from evidence. Most people delay commitment because they are waiting to feel sure. But feelings are inconsistent, especially in environments where feedback is scarce. A person might enjoy two things equally and feel drawn to both. Passion cannot resolve the conflict. Skill can. You may not know whether you like writing more than sales, but you likely know whether you are better at explaining ideas than persuading people in real time. That difference is actionable. Passion is not. The strategic path does not begin with preference. It begins with comparative advantage. This is why capable operators ignore what excites them and focus on what responds to effort. They test themselves across domains. They observe where learning accelerates faster, where results compound, where resistance decreases. Over time, patterns emerge, not emotionally, but empirically. And with those patterns comes direction. History rewards this approach. Many individuals now described as passionate visionaries were in truth pragmatic explorers. They tried multiple disciplines. They followed opportunity, not infatuation. Only later did their trajectory look inevitable. What people call finding their passion is usually the moment when skill meets demand. Before that moment, passion is merely projection. It is the ego imagining a future identity without paying the price of competence. It feels profound, but it is empty. There is also a darker danger in passion's vagueness. It encourages endless comparison. People ask whether they love something enough, whether this feeling is real, whether another path might feel better. This mental loop produces no output, only anxiety. Skill does not ask permission. It accumulates quietly. The market does not reward what you enjoy. It rewards what you perform reliably under pressure. Skill survives pressure. Passion often collapses under it. Those who build power understand this. They choose paths where progress is visible and repeatable. They invest where effort turns into improvement. They allow identity to emerge from performance, not imagination. In time, attachment forms. Pride develops. Ownership follows. What began as neutral labor becomes personal. Passion arrives late to the scene, taking credit for work already done. Those who mistake it for a starting point will remain amateurs, forever inspired, never effective. In the real world, precision beats poetry, and skill, unlike passion, never lies. Liking something does not make it profitable. Enjoyment is not a currency. The world does not exchange enthusiasm for income, nor does it reward sincerity with survival. Money flows toward utility, scarcity, and execution, not affection. Confusing these domains is one of the most common and costly errors people make when choosing a path. Liking something gives you permission to do it. It does not give you permission to earn from it. The market is indifferent to your attachment. It only asks one question: who will pay and why? If you cannot answer this without hesitation, passion becomes a liability rather than an asset. Many industries are filled with people who genuinely love what they do and remain poor because of it. Fitness enthusiasts who cannot sell, artists who cannot distribute, creators who cannot negotiate. Their mistake is not a lack of effort but a misunderstanding of value. In most fields, the activity people enjoy is a fraction of what generates revenue. Loving the craft does not teach you pricing, positioning, or demand creation. These skills exist in parallel, and they are rarely intuitive. The gap between enjoyment and monetization is where most careers collapse. Consider how often passion leads people into overcrowded arenas. The more enjoyable an activity is, the more participants it attracts. Supply increases, margins shrink, competition intensifies. What remains is a brutal reality. The majority subsidize the survival of the few who manage to dominate distribution. The dream survives because the failures are quiet. When passion becomes the primary filter, people ignore economics. They do not ask whether demand is stable, whether buyers have money, whether the problem is urgent, or whether alternatives already exist. They ask whether the work feels right. Feeling right has never protected anyone from irrelevance. Those who understand power treat passion with suspicion. They know that loving something often blinds you to its weaknesses. It reduces your willingness to confront reality. It encourages emotional decisions where strategic ones are required. This is why seasoned operators separate creation from commerce. They do what they enjoy where it is safe to do so, and they build income where it is sustainable. They do not demand that every part of life generate money, nor do they expect money to arrive simply because effort feels meaningful. The naive say if I love it enough it will work. The experienced say if it works I will learn to love it. There is nothing immoral about this stance. Survival precedes expression. Stability creates optionality, and optionality is the soil in which genuine freedom grows. To insist that your income must emerge from affection is to impose conditions on reality. Reality does not negotiate. Money is not evil, but it is precise. It reveals which activities create value and which merely consume time. Those who refuse to learn this lesson early often learn it late after years invested in something that could never sustain them. Liking something is a personal matter. Earning from it is a strategic one. Confuse the two and the market will correct you without apology. Passion hides the boring work. That is the trap. Passion sells a seductive illusion that meaningful work should feel energizing, creative, and emotionally rewarding most of the time. This illusion destroys more potential than failure ever could because the truth is simple and unforgiving. All competence is built on monotony. The early stages of mastery are not exciting. They are mechanical, repetitive, devoid of applause. Progress comes in increments too small to celebrate and too slow to inspire. Passion does not survive here. Discipline does. This is where the trap is set. People enter a field because they love it, expecting that love to carry them through the process. When enthusiasm fades, as it always does, they conclude that the path was wrong, not because the work is flawed, but because their expectations were. They were promised inspiration. They encountered repetition. Deliberate practice is not designed to feel good. It is designed to expose weakness. It demands that you perform the same action thousands of times, not to enjoy it, but to refine it. Each repetition removes friction. Each cycle tightens control. There is no novelty in this process, only precision. Most people quit here not because they lack talent, but because they were never warned that boredom is the price of entry. The dangerous myth is that passion should make effort enjoyable. In reality, passion often delays competence by encouraging selective effort. People practice what they like and avoid what they resist. Unfortunately, what they resist is usually what would make them effective. Those who rise understand that the least glamorous tasks often carry the highest leverage. They repeat what others avoid. They refine what others abandon. While amateurs chase stimulation, professionals chase improvement. This is why mastery looks effortless only in hindsight. Observers see the performance, not the repetitions. They see the final sprint, not the miles run alone. And so they mistake outcome for temperament, believing the winner enjoyed the process all along. He did not. He endured it. Passion obscures this reality by framing struggle as a sign of misalignment rather than inevitability. It teaches people to interpret resistance as a warning when resistance is often evidence that learning is occurring. Those who understand this reverse their relationship with boredom. They stop asking whether the work is exciting and ask whether it is working. They build tolerance for repetition. They find satisfaction not in novelty but in control. Over time, something shifts. What was once tedious becomes automatic. What was once difficult becomes routine. The mind quiets. Precision replaces effort. Only then does enjoyment emerge, not as excitement but as confidence. This is the moment passion pretends it led the way. It did not. It arrived after the foundation was laid, after the discipline was proven, after the work became lighter. Those who waited for it at the beginning never made it far enough to meet it. The trap is believing that boredom is a signal to stop. In truth, boredom is the gate. And on the other side of that gate is the only kind of power that lasts. The dangerous illusion work is supposed to be fun. The belief that work should be enjoyable is a modern luxury, and a lethal one. It did not emerge from necessity but from comfort. From societies wealthy enough to confuse survival with self-expression. In harsher conditions, work was understood for what it is, a mechanism, a means to secure resources, stability, and position. Meaning came later, if at all. To expect pleasure from work is to misunderstand its function. Work exists to produce outcomes, to generate value, to sustain life and create leverage. Enjoyment is incidental, not guaranteed. When people reverse this expectation, they begin to judge progress by how they feel rather than by what they build. This is how stagnation disguises itself as self-care. The fantasy is simple: if this were the right path, it would feel exciting. When excitement fades, as it must, the conclusion follows: this must not be for me. The path is abandoned, not because it lacks potential, but because it fails to entertain. Power is never entertaining in its acquisition phase. Those who hold influence understand that most of what matters is tedious. Paperwork, repetition, maintenance, negotiation, overhead. The visible rewards sit on top of an invisible structure built from tasks no one celebrates. Even the most admired professions are saturated with this reality. Behind every dream job lies a mountain of administrative friction, meetings without momentum, decisions without clarity, responsibilities without applause. This is not failure. It is the cost of relevance. The illusion of fun is dangerous because it creates entitlement. It suggests that discomfort is a flaw in the system rather than a feature. It trains people to flee resistance instead of using it as proof that something real is being built. Those who chase enjoyment tend to optimize for short-term emotional returns. They avoid necessary friction. They delay difficult decisions. They seek stimulation over progress. And in doing so, they remain dependent on motivation, on novelty, on external validation. The disciplined mind does the opposite. It separates satisfaction from entertainment. It understands that meaning accumulates through endurance, not excitement. That pride comes from having carried weight, not from having been amused. This is why many who work relentlessly do not describe their lives as fun yet feel deeply fulfilled. They measure success by sovereignty, control over time, resources, and direction, not by momentary pleasure. The expectation that work must be fun is not just unrealistic, it is corrosive, it erodes resilience, it reframes discomfort as injustice. It teaches people to resent the very process that could free them. Those who abandon this illusion gain a quiet advantage. They stop asking whether the work feels good and ask whether it moves them forward. They stop demanding enjoyment and start building position. Ironically, this is when enjoyment becomes possible, not because the work changes but because the individual does. The same task once resented becomes tolerable, then manageable, then satisfying, not joyful but meaningful. Fun is fleeting. Progress compounds, and those who understand this stop chasing pleasure and start constructing lives that do not require it. Money does not create happiness. Poverty creates pain. Money is not a moral force. It is a pressure regulator. Those who romanticize poverty have never lived long under its constraints. They confuse simplicity with scarcity and meaning with deprivation. In reality, lack of money does not purify character. It compresses it. It narrows choices, accelerates stress, and converts minor problems into permanent crisis. Money does not guarantee fulfillment, but the absence of it guarantees friction. This distinction matters because many people sabotage their own ascent by treating money as something ignoble, secondary, or optional. They chase expression first and assume survival will arrange itself. It rarely does. Before money becomes excess, it is relief. Relief from constant calculation. Relief from dependency. Relief from having every decision weighed against immediate consequence. This relief creates the psychological space required for higher-order thinking, strategy, creativity, long-term planning. Without it, life becomes reactive. Those who dismiss money as unimportant often do so from a position of safety. They speak as if constraints are imaginary because they no longer feel them. But to those still exposed, money is not an abstract concept. It is time, protection, and choice. There is a reason financial stress corrodes relationships, health, and judgment. It forces short-term decisions. It rewards compromise. It teaches obedience. A person who cannot afford to say no is never free, no matter how passionate their work appears. This is why the strategic mind treats income as a priority, not a byproduct. When faced with two paths of equal difficulty, the one that pays more is not greed, it is foresight. Money creates optionality. Optionality creates leverage. Leverage creates autonomy. Only after autonomy exists can one meaningfully discuss fulfillment. Those who build power understand that money's greatest function is not consumption but insulation. It buffers against chaos. It absorbs shocks. It buys patience. And patience is the rarest resource of all. This does not mean chasing money blindly. It means acknowledging reality without sentiment. Some pursuits will never sustain you no matter how deeply you love them. To persist anyway is not courage. It is denial. There is also a lie embedded in the phrase, money doesn't make you happy. It implies that happiness is the objective. It may not be. stability, sovereignty, and reduced suffering are often more valuable than transient joy. Happiness fluctuates. Pain compounds. A life structured to minimize pain is not empty. It is strategic. From that foundation, one may choose where to invest emotion, creativity, and risk. Without it, every choice is constrained by necessity. Those who reach this understanding stop moralizing income. They stop apologizing for wanting security. They recognize that money is not the enemy of meaning, but the scaffolding that allows meaning to exist without desperation. Money will not complete you. But without it, the world will never stop taking pieces from you. And no amount of passion will shield you from that reality. The world changes. Passion becomes a liability. The most dangerous promise embedded in, follow your passion, is permanence. It assumes that what matters to you today will matter tomorrow. That what the world rewards now will be rewarded later. That identity once chosen should be defended at all costs. History dismantles this assumption without mercy. The world does not respect loyalty to obsolete value. Industries shift. Technologies replace skills. Attention migrates. What once created leverage can quietly become irrelevant. Those who tied their identity too tightly to a single passion find themselves trapped, emotionally invested in something the market has already abandoned. Passion hardens into attachment. Attachment resists adaptation. This is why many capable people struggle when conditions change. They are not weak, they are rigid. They built their sense of self around a craft, a role, or a narrative that no longer functions. To pivot would feel like betrayal, not of strategy but of identity. Power does not tolerate this sentimentality. The strategic individual treats skills as assets, not sacred objects. Assets are upgraded, diversified, and sometimes discarded. They are used while they produce returns and replaced when they do not. Emotion is removed from the equation. Those who succeed long-term do not find their thing. They evolve their edge. Consider how often early passions emerge from randomness rather than design, a chance exposure, a brief reinforcement, a window of relevance. None of these guarantee durability. Yet people build their futures as if they do. When the environment shifts, they cling harder. They invest more emotion. They double down on expression while ignoring feedback. What began as devotion becomes denial. The world continues moving. Flexibility, not fidelity, is what preserves power. The ability to detach from what once defined you is not weakness. It is survival. Those who adapt early preserve momentum. Those who adapt late call it starting over and resent the cost. This is the hidden risk of passion-driven identity. It narrows vision. It turns adaptation into loss rather than upgrade. It replaces curiosity with defensiveness, and in doing so, it slowly converts relevance into nostalgia. Those who understand leverage avoid this trap. They choose paths that teach transferable skills. They prioritize learning velocity over emotional commitment. They remain dangerous not because they love one thing deeply, but because they can learn many things quickly. This posture does not eliminate passion, it postpones it. Passion that emerges after adaptability is durable. Passion that precedes it is brittle. The world will change whether you consent or not. Markets will shift whether you approve or resist. Clinging to an old passion does not slow this process. It only ensures that you are dragged by it. Those who retain power remain light on their feet. They do not anchor their identity to yesterday's value. They allow themselves to change without apology. Because in the real world, the greatest liability is not failure, it is refusing to evolve. Passion is self-absorption. Power is service. Passion points inward. Power is built outward. This is the quiet flaw at the center of passion-driven thinking. It asks constantly, how do I feel? What do I want? What fulfills me? It treats life as a private experience rather than a strategic position within a larger system. Systems do not reward self-absorption. They reward usefulness. Those who orient their lives around passion often struggle with endurance. Their motivation depends on internal states, energy, mood, inspiration. When these fluctuate, effort collapses. The work becomes negotiable, commitment weakens. Progress stalls. Those who build power rely on a different engine. They attach their effort to something external. Responsibility, obligation, mission. Protection, provision. This outward orientation creates a far stronger force than personal enjoyment ever could. It allows individuals to tolerate discomfort without questioning meaning at every step. Human psychology is unambiguous on this point. People can endure far more pain in service of others than they can for themselves alone. Sacrifice becomes sustainable when it shields something beyond the ego. This is why armies function, families survive, and institutions persist. A soldier does not advance because he loves hardship. He advances because retreat would endanger others. A parent does not work relentlessly because the task is enjoyable. They work because failure carries consequences beyond themselves. Purpose multiplies tolerance. Passion, by contrast, collapses under pressure. The moment effort stops feeling aligned, it demands reassessment. It frames difficulty as evidence of error rather than necessity. It asks whether the work is still worth it instead of asking who depends on it being done. This is not virtue. It is fragility. Those who build lasting influence anchor their actions to service. Not sentimentality, but function. They ask, who benefits if I persist? What collapses if I stop? These questions remove ambiguity. They create clarity where emotion cannot. Service also reshapes perception of work itself. The same task approached selfishly feels oppressive. Approached as contribution, it acquires weight and dignity. The labor does not change, the meaning does. This distinction explains why two people can perform identical work and experience it entirely differently. One feels trapped, the other feels necessary. One resents the burden, the other carries it with resolve. Power flows toward the latter. Service-oriented individuals also outlast others because their motivation is renewable. Personal desire exhausts quickly. Obligation renews daily, the self runs out of fuel. Responsibility does not. This does not require martyrdom or self-erasure. It requires perspective. The understanding that your effort exists within a larger structure, and that structure responds to contribution, not self-expression. Those who fixate on passion ask whether the work satisfies them. Those who accumulate power ask whether the work matters, and when work matters, endurance follows naturally. In the end, passion is too small a reason to suffer. Service is large enough to justify it. This is why power rarely belongs to those who chase fulfillment. It belongs to those who choose to be useful. The alternative framework, do not follow passion, engineer it. Those who wait for passion remain stationary. Those who manufacture it move. If passion is not a starting point but a consequence, then the strategy must change accordingly. The question is no longer, what do I love? But what can I build that will make love inevitable later? This shift alone separates amateurs from operators. The disciplined approach begins with curiosity, not infatuation. Curiosity is light. It does not demand certainty or commitment. It allows experimentation without identity collapse. You do not need to feel inspired. You only need to be willing to test. Testing produces feedback. Feedback produces direction. From there, the priority is competence, not enjoyment, not alignment. Competence. Choose something where improvement is visible, where effort converts reliably into skill, where progress compounds rather than resets. This is where leverage hides. The strategic mind evaluates paths based on learning velocity, not emotional charge. Which skills stack? Which transfer? Which grow more valuable under pressure? Passion ignores these questions. Engineering does not. Once a direction is chosen, commitment replaces deliberation. Commitment, properly understood, is not enthusiasm. It is the removal of alternatives. Progress requires constraint. Optionality feels safe, but it dilutes force. Those who advance narrow their field of action and apply pressure consistently. This is where most fail. They want freedom before structure, pleasure before proof, identity before evidence. The engineered path reverses this order. Structure comes first, proof follows, identity forms last. Deliberate practice is the engine, not casual repetition, but targeted friction. The parts you avoid are the parts that matter. Refinement occurs at the edge of discomfort, not inside preference. This is non-negotiable. Over time, competence alters perception. Tasks that once felt heavy become lighter, resistance decreases, control increases. You stop struggling to perform and begin performing to improve. This transition is subtle but decisive. This is the moment passion begins to appear, not as excitement but as ownership. Ownership deepens attachment. Attachment reinforces discipline. Discipline accelerates results. The loop closes. Passion once absent is now self-sustaining. Money must be accounted for honestly in this process. Income is not the enemy of meaning. It is the condition that allows meaning to persist without desperation. When two paths offer equal growth, choose the one that pays. Financial oxygen preserves strategic patience. Environment also matters more than emotion. Place yourself where standards are high. Feedback is immediate and mediocrity is exposed. Passion grows faster in proximity to excellence than in isolation with good intentions. Finally, detach from permanence. The goal is not to find the one thing, but to remain effective as conditions change. Passion that is engineered from competence can evolve. Passion that is inherited from identity cannot. This framework is not comforting. It offers no destiny, no calling, no promise of joy at the beginning. What it offers instead is control. Control over trajectory, control over skill, control over outcome. Passion, when it arrives, will claim authorship. Let it. You will know the truth. You did not follow it. You built the conditions that forced it to exist. And that is the only kind of passion worth having. The final warning: do not misunderstand this message. This is not an argument against joy, creativity, or meaning. It is a warning against building your life on feelings that cannot survive pressure. Passion is fragile. Reality is not. When the two collide, reality always wins. Most people are not defeated by lack of talent. They are defeated by comforting ideas. Follow your passion is one of them. It delays action, it excuses hesitation, it transforms uncertainty into virtue. It teaches people to wait for permission from their emotions, from clarity from the universe. Permission never arrives. The world does not reward those who wait. It rewards those who position themselves where value is produced, pressure is endured, and skills are sharpened without applause. It rewards those who move while uncertain, work while uninspired, and build while unseen. This is the part few will accept. There is no guarantee that the path you choose will feel meaningful while you are walking it. Meaning is retrospective. It is assigned after endurance has been proven. To demand it in advance is to demand interest on capital you have not yet earned. Those who insist that work must feel right before committing will continue sampling life without ever digesting it. They will confuse motion with progress, exploration with advancement. Years will pass, options will narrow, and the cost of starting will rise quietly in the background. Power does not announce when the window is closing. It closes slowly, then all at once. Understand this clearly. The market does not care about your intentions. It cares about your output. Society does not remember effort. It remembers results. And time does not negotiate. It compounds either in your favor or against you. Passion left unmanaged becomes an excuse to avoid responsibility. It says I am waiting for the right thing. Responsibility says I will make this thing right. Only one of these creates leverage. If you take nothing else from this, take this rule. Never outsource your direction to emotion. Emotions fluctuate. Strategy endures. Build skills that make you difficult to ignore. Place yourself where feedback is brutal and improvement is mandatory. Accept boredom as the tax paid for competence. Let others chase fulfillment, you chase position. Fulfillment, if it comes, will come later, quietly, unexpectedly, as a side effect of having become capable. It will not arrive as a signal to begin. It will arrive as confirmation that you endured long enough to deserve it. This is the truth most people resist because it offers no romance, no destiny, no reassurance, only agency. And agency is heavy, it removes excuses. It forces choice, it demands that you act without guarantees. But it is also the only thing that turns a life from something that happens to you into something you control. Ignore this warning and you may live comfortably confused, busy, inspired, and powerless. Heed it and you will understand why those who hold power rarely speak of passion until after they no longer need to.